But small business owners needed this more than anyone. And it just, because money is out there, I just don't think people know how to go get it. When you know you're going to miss payroll in 2 weeks, when you know you have to make a big vendor payment at the end of the month, you have a plan to stop making the problem worse. I think it happens to new businesses, but I see it more fatally when it happens to mature businesses.
Welcome back to the Founders Hustle, where everyday entrepreneurs share their journey and lessons they've learned along the way. Today's guest is Cherise Lloyd, author of The Shortfall Solution and founder of a financial content and consulting agency. If your business is feeling the squeeze, slower receivables, rising costs, or a sudden revenue gap, this episode is going to be your playbook. So welcome to the show, Cherise. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to talk to you today, especially because tell me a little bit about your book. You just published this, about a couple weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was a long time coming and went through some iterations before completed.
What was the reason for writing this book?
Well, I spent a decade at the Federal Reserve working for the discount window during the Great Financial Crisis. This is called the last resort lending facility for banks. And I coordinated services for over 250 FDIC seized banks. And then after that, I moved into managing a $1.5 billion portfolio in leveraged finance. And I got a chance to watch banks, portfolio companies go from one cash crisis to another because they never built visibility of where their cash was to see the problems coming. And the pattern was always the same. These were smart people who knew better, and they were making timing mistakes. And so after spending all that time and then getting to know small business owners, I just saw that there was a place where this knowledge shouldn't be trapped, like in institutional finance with the big banks and the private equity firms. But small business owners needed this more than anyone. And it just, because money is out there, I just don't think people know how to go get it.
Yeah, that is, I believe, a very true statement. So what's the biggest mistake that business owners make when cash gets tight?
Well, I think everybody does this even in their personal life, and that is information avoidance. They just what they call strategic ambiguity, where it's not as bad as you think if you don't know what actually is going on. It's a deliberate haziness on their exact position. And while that might be comforting, it is actually extremely detrimental to your company. And it's more uncomfortable to be looking for those numbers, and it's psychologically taxing. It's better just to know and to know how to make it right. Even when it's negative, at least you know where you stand. But business owners usually shy away from that.
So is this book geared towards a small business owner or more of a corporation size?
Totally for a small business owner. It's that person making those conversations to their vendors, to their landlord. It's them taking the reins to create cash or bring revenue forward or push expenses out themselves. It's not telling, in my old world at leverage finance, it'd be the analyst would run the numbers, then the managing director would tell the CEO. And so it's just you and your cell phone, probably sitting in your truck or in your small office behind you, whatever business you have. So it's definitely for the small business owner with a small team.
Excellent. So talk to me a little bit about the framework that you have established in this book and that you have learned through your career.
So yeah, the framework it's 7 days, 20 days, and 13 weeks. And while you can't solve a cash problem in 7 days, it definitely gives you the feeling of immediacy, doing something right now when you know you're going to miss payroll in 2 weeks, when you know you have to make a big vendor payment at the end of the month. You have a plan to stop making the problem worse and to kind of capture all the cash you probably can. And then the 20 days is when you actually start to execute on what you came up in the first 7. And then the 13 weeks is how because you might make mistakes. You might push things out, but just refocusing on what you've done during those 20 days to save your business and get over that cash shortfall. This will really help you to kind of plan in case this happens again to you, because it usually does. And to, that make it much more easy to bridge that and also correct any mistakes or the timing issues you did, because it's so fast, right? 7 days is really fast.
Excellent. So have you noticed, in your previous workings and current consulting, like, are there warning signs that a shortfall is coming, or anything like red flags that businesses might be doing that starts that shortfall?
I think the biggest one is people jumping into the idea of treating cash without really understanding that cash can fund debt. But so you could take on debt and then use cash to stay current. But they always usually feel so negative about debt that they rather use all their cash right up front. And as we know, things happen, right? You have one vendor that is switching accounting systems. So instead of the 2 months they're going to pay you, it's 3 months. You could have, that's just one instance. Other instances, you had to buy a new car or new computers, make new capital expenditures for your companies. Those kind of things people pay cash for. And once you start to see that number go down, that's a huge red flag. Other red flags are, you're doing super well. You're getting a lot of revenue. You're paying your contractors 30 days in advance, but you're not getting paid for another 2 months, right? So it's all of these like hyper growth, vendors just asking for cash and you giving it to them, and not looking for better terms. And again, it goes back to that like information avoidance a bit, but there are red flags, and usually people after a while know their business pretty well to know when they're getting close.
Okay. So this might not necessarily be for a business that's just starting up. It can be even a mature business that can experience these shortfalls, maybe as they grow or as they pivot into new industries.
Yeah, I think it happens to new businesses, but I see it more fatally when it happens to mature businesses, right? It's the gentleman that started a plumbing company, and so he starts with his family and friends, and then it grows out, and then all of a sudden he's got 10 people, and it's like he's in his 7th year. And then that's when things just become so much bigger. The QuickBooks that he was using previously doesn't really make that jump for him, or, the house cleaner, or, there was one company I looked at that they drive one of those vans that goes door to door to wash dogs and things like that. And it sounds like a great thing because somebody probably gives you a check but you have to pay for the van, you have to pay for the gas, and all those kind of things. And so you probably have cash, and you may be lucky enough to have an SBA loan to get you through those first years. But after you kind of get comfortable and you start to have expense creep, that's usually when it comes in, and it takes everybody by surprise. That's when it's usually the most fatal. So yeah, this book is for if you're day one or if you're 7 years in.
Okay, that makes sense. And it does seem to be a common theme with business owners. They're really good at a particular service or product or whatever industry they're in, but not all the business owners are prepared for the financial end, for the business running end. So I think this book sounds like it'd be super handy for that. Now, in the book, if I'm not mistaken, we had talked about you have several worksheets that will help individuals or business owners through the process to help them relieve any cash shortfalls, if you will. Talk to me a little bit about the worksheets that you have.
So yeah, I did create some Excel workbooks, mostly because I've always worked in Excel from being in finance. But I also find that it's great to have a one-stop shop where people can look and track everything. Instead of little pieces of paper and Post-it notes. You can find these two workbooks. There's one, they're both on my website, 77 Spider. and they're called the Shortfall workbooks. And one will help you with actually figuring out how much is your shortfall? Where is your gap? Like, how much money do you need by what particular date? And then the second workbook is that in my book, we have what's called hard pays, soft pays, and, you just get rid of the expense altogether. And with a soft pay, it's you negotiating with either your landlord, your vendor, some entity to either push back an expense to grab some time. And you have to track all of that. And it also, in that booklet too, is how can you pull forward revenue and what is the likelihood that you're able to pull it forward? So you can also figure out, how big the gap is. Like if you can get someone that you did work for 2 months ago, can you get them to pay you this month? How much do you think that they'll be able to pay? And just tracking all of that, because it in the book, it's the idea is doing 3 things at once. And this allows you to track all 3 things.
Nice. And it sounds like, so if I'm not mistaken, you wrote this book with a business consultant or a business advisor in mind as well. Like this seems like a great piece of material to walk clients, being the small business owner, through. How do you foresee coaches and advisors utilizing your book?
That's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up. Because I did write it not only for the business owner, but as a coaching tool, because a lot of business coaches are more strategic about marketing, new segments and things like that. And, if your client that you're working with as a coach is having problems making their cash payments to their employees and things like that, it definitely hinders them working with you. It also is a great tool given the fact that a business coach goes at everything from a strategic mindset. It will really help them frame finance in that same language that they're already using. And I just think you can't coach a business owner without coaching the business, right? It's the person needs to understand how to run the business as well as whatever crafts they do.
Well, now take me back just a little bit. You had mentioned in the previous response, 77 Spider, which is your consulting firm. So take me back to your background. You work for the Federal Reserve. Why did you start 77 Spider, and what do you do there?
So 77 Spider, I started just out of sheer wanting to be creative. And after working in the Federal Reserve and working in leverage finance on the operational side, and just numbers and dealing with all of that, I definitely wanted to express that to other people and show them, because I find it fascinating. I find a lot of this finance fascinating. I know Excel spreadsheets, I get a little bit of a flutter. Not everybody's like that, oddly. So, odd enough. So this was my way of expressing that, and like, this is very interesting. And if you put all the little pieces together and how this could be helpful and entertaining. And then obviously that led me into I started to hear a number of individuals talk about, like, they had there's no cash. They wanted to do something, but they couldn't find the cash. And having been in finance for such a long time, I always knew that there is cash out there. It's a fungible thing. You just have to figure out how to go get it. And you have to do it in a systematic way, because you're going to hit rejection, but it doesn't mean that the first 2 rejects it's just not out there. You've got to keep trying in different ways. And so it allowed me, by setting up 77 Spider, to take all that information, and instead of it presenting in the institutional finance speak, prepare it for people that don't really love an Excel spreadsheet the way I do.
Crazy. Speaking of creativity, you have also dived into the podcast world, and you take some experiences from. Tell us a little bit about your podcast, because that is extraordinarily interesting what you do there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so that is my deep dive into my love of fraud. So, I mean, if you gotta love something, I guess. So I am an expired CFP certified fraud examiner. And I have a certification in treasury professional and almost was an accountant, but not. So I have all these little pieces and I just love a good financial scandal. And so I started writing these little podcasts about various people that kind of had blown up their worlds. And right now I'm working on season 2, and it's called Decades, and it will go through a big bank blow up for every decade. So I start off in 1974 with a bank that blew up due to currency trading, and then wind it up. I do Washington Mutual towards the end, and then I'm not going to do Silicon Valley Bank because that was one of the banks that we regulated, the Fed. So I think that'll be too little insidey, but yeah, so I'm going to do one for each decade. So that's my next season. But yeah.
That's fantastic. And I'm sorry, what was the name of your podcast?
Thank you. Yeah. Over-leveraged, overconfident.
Over-leveraged, overconfident. Excellent,
exactly.
Excellent.
It's available on Spotify and on Amazon.
Okay. Yeah, go out there and listen to it. I mean, if you love a good financial fraud, this is the podcast for you. All right. This is the fun part for me. This is the lightning round. Okay. And I want you to talk to aspiring entrepreneurs and future leaders, and people who may just be in the first beginning stages of entrepreneurism, if that's an actual word or not. But I'm going to rattle off a couple of questions and just spit off some answers at the top of your head. Give me one financial rule you wish every entrepreneur learned early.
Save your cash.
That's much better than hoard your cash. So save your cash. One thing you would never do to fix a shortfall.
Oh, yeah, that's easy. I would not take any tax or employment monies that you've set aside while you're paying payroll. Do not. Because that is the number one thing. The IRS can pierce your LLC and hold you personally liable. It is not dischargeable in bankruptcy. Do not do that. And it can be federally criminally prosecutable. So, yeah, I mean, it's sad. People see it as a bucket and they want to use it. And I appreciate that, but it's not a judgment. It's just, I'm trying to warn people away from it.
Okay, that's good. What should people stop doing immediately when they're panicking about cash?
The first thing to stop doing is, I would always say, until you know how big the problem is, don't go looking for solutions. Because the first thing people start to do typically is they will go ask to borrow money. And you don't really want to get in that position because you're not going to go to a banker or a family and friend in the best mindset, and you're not going to know how much you're going to need. So if you ask for 10 grand, but you needed 20, you got to go back. So just stop and think about what where your problems are and really analyze the situation before you try to fix it.
Can you really turn around a cash crisis in 7 days?
You can't solve it in 7 days, but obviously you're learning what the problem is. You'll stop making it worse, and then you'll buy time to actually solve it. So the first 7 days are truly you being defensive. You knowing your numbers, you're freezing non-essential spending, you're identifying vendors you can negotiate with. And the goal is just to create breathing room and generate at least one visible win that proves to yourself and your team and anyone else that you're bringing into this process that you're executing on a plan. I mean, the actual, the structure is so that in the actual next 20 days, that's when you're doing the recovery, the actual recovery.
Okay. Yeah. I'm glad you clarified that. That's really good. So if someone only does one thing after this episode, what should it be?
They should buy my book.
Heck yeah.
Or listen to my podcast, but buy my book. I really think one thing that you should do after listening to this podcast in all seriousness is that you should know where your expenses are, and especially the big ones. And because expense creep happens in every business. I've seen it repeatedly where, subscriptions have been purchased and never used, those kind of things. So yeah, get your hands around what you're spending money on.
What's the biggest piece of advice that you would give budding entrepreneurs, leaders, managers, as they look to upskill and start their own business?
I would definitely, the big thing that I would suggest that people do is become financially savvy in a way that they can talk to a banker, they can get that line of credit, and they can really set it up. I mean, it's lovely if your parents can give you $100,000 or you have some sort of pocket of money, but eventually that will be depleted and things happen, mistakes happen. So being financially astute to have those conversations, or to find someone like a business coach that can help you walk through that to get that background before you get started. I think a lot of people, I had a friend that ate the most delicious chocolate ever, and he was selling it to Starbucks, and then Starbucks really liked it, and he was 10 locations in and couldn't afford to do it anymore because he couldn't afford the chocolate. So it only took a short period of time, and he had never thought, it was something that he just out of love. So he never thought about getting a line of credit to keep it going. And it kind of killed his dream, because once he did realize that, it was too late. He had to miss orders. Things kind of fell apart after that. So
yeah, it's an interesting concept, because I hear it and I think, oh, wow, he makes chocolate. He's selling to Starbucks. He's already in 10 locations. This guy's brilliant. He's going to be a millionaire. But it doesn't work like that all the time, does it?
it doesn't. And passion is fantastic. But reality, unfortunately, can just crush that for people, right? So I think being a little more realistic at the get-go will make you more resilient in your day-to-day. And so, and we talked about, before our recording, our pre-conversation, before when we were getting ready for this. And, one of the things is getting a line of credit would just save some people some heartbreak.
Getting a line of credit?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay, excellent. So this book, The Shortfall Solution, is how to solve cash flow issues. What's next? Do you have anything else as a follow-up or anything on the horizon that you might want to tap into and consider working on in the future?
Well, I'm so happy you asked. That's great. I am starting a new one. Its working title is called Raising an Investor, Not Just a Saver. And it is geared towards teaching parents how to make their kids more comfortable, not just saving their allowance, but also investing it, and how you can help walk your kid through, your child, or even a niece or nephew, if you don't have children, to take some risk in the market. And because the compounding of rewards in the market are so much higher than the 4% they're going to get on a CD. And it's an excellent thing to have when you're talking to recruit, schools and colleges, and putting the resume as you get older.
Oh, heck yeah. That would be a very good book. As you know, I'm very passionate about investing and teaching the youth the power of compounding and using the market. So that is fantastic. I look forward to reading that book. In the meantime, let us know, how can we support you, Cherise? Where do we find you, and where do we pick up your book?
So my book currently is available on Amazon through Kindle or Kindle Cloud Reader. It is, if you're a Kindle Unlimited, it's free. But at this particular time, for the next 3 months, it will be for a minimal price of under $5. for anybody who would like to take a look at it. Please leave a review if it does work for you. You can also reach out to me at my website at 77spider.com. And just leave me a little note. You could find the worksheets there as well. And please check out my podcast, Over Leveraged and Overconfident, available on Amazon and Spotify with its new season, Decades.
I will drop all of that information in the show notes below so you can easily connect with Cherise and easily jump on her podcast and pick up the book. So thank you so much. What great information you have to share. And if anybody needs to talk more, by all means, click the link in the show notes and reach out to Cherise. So thank you, Cherise.
Thank you. It was great to join you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Founders Hustle. I would absolutely love to know what resonated with you the most from today's guest. Go ahead and drop me a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. Also, if there's a future topic that you'd like me to touch on, go ahead and drop that in the comments as well. But no matter where you're watching or streaming your favorite shows, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on social media. Tell a friend about this. I would love the support. But in the meantime, keep living, keep growing, and keep hustling because you are meant to do great things. See you next week.